I am Jenny Steffek, Director of Knowledge Management for Global Risk Solutions at Liberty Mutual.
And I'm Katie Karam, Assistant Director for Knowledge Management for our Global Retail Markets.
And I should have taken a note from Butch's presentation and started out with a cool Liberty commercial, but I didn't have that kind of foresight, so this is what you get, right? And so I think my notes aren't showing up, so we're going to use the trusty old note cards, guys. One of the things that Rick said earlier today that really resonated with me, he was talking about how do you become, right, a customer-centric organization. And one of the things that he talked about specifically was don't be siloed, be connected, right? So hopefully throughout our presentation, you're going to hear that theme resonate throughout. So don't have a commercial, but I do have a history lesson, right? So I'm gonna start there. As many of you may know, we're a company that's rich in history, and in fact, this year, we celebrated 110 years. So, been around a while, hope you guys like history, like I said. So, President Taft, back in 1908, signed the Federal Employers' Liability Act. And then shortly after that, in Massachusetts, they passed the Workmen's Compensation Act of 1911. So, fast forward, the next year, Liberty Mutual was created, and we opened our doors, offering workmen's comp monoline solution policies. So, what is this picture, right? I'm gonna get out of your way. This is our first home office in Boston, Massachusetts. I really like this picture because I don't know if you guys can see this out there, but it says 25-cent parking all day. I have some colleagues that work in our Boston office that are probably shaking their head right now because I think, I don't know, Nate, like $40 a day at least to park down there. So I say that because we've come a long way, right? Some things have been great, some things have been not so great, like the cost of parking. But while we started, right, as a work comp carrier, quickly we too have evolved and we started offering auto policies and have ultimately grown into selling a huge suite of products in the commercial lines and personal lines markets. So, what do we look like today, guys? Well, this is what our commercials look like anyway. We don't have a cool commercial to start us out with, but you've at least got the picture of Limu, Emu, and Doug. But really and truly, if you fast forward from 1912 all the way today, we've grown into the 4th largest commercial lines carrier in the US, the 6th largest personal lines carrier in the US, and as you can see here, we're a global company, right? Got a pretty big footprint all over and around the world. Right now, we are 50,000 employees strong in 800 offices with nearly $50 billion in annual revenue. And the reason I'm telling you all of this, right, is because Liberty is an organization with very complex needs, much like many of you out in the audience today, in every aspect of the business, including technology. So, right, as a 110-year-old company, we've got so much information. We've got to harness that. It's a lot of different kinds of information. So what we're here to talk to you guys today about are the 2 major business units within Liberty, right? So we heard Ashu talk earlier about contact centers and the future of contact centers. And whereas, in GRM, what Katie's going to talk about, that really fits, sort of the mold of what they're doing in GRM. In GRS, it's a very different story. So we want to talk about how we're leveraging a single platform, but using very different strategies and how we use it to sort of meet the needs of our very different organizations. All right, so Katie, you want to talk to us about GRM? Yeah.
So Global Retail Markets, also known as GRM, serves the insurance needs for our personal lines and small commercial businesses, and that's across our U.S., West, and East regions. Yeah, and so I have actually been with Liberty about 19 years. I've sat in global retail solutions the entire time. I sit in our North America operations. Of course, we have other units. We have our specialty markets, which sells an array of products around the world, like 24 different countries. We have our surety group that has a big market in the US, and then a lot of niche products that sort of flow up into that other GRS, if you will. But even at the highest level of the organization, right, there's a lot to unwrap in terms of different groups that flow up into GRS and GRM. And the key here is that we have really been leveraging one another as a knowledge management organization to sort of learn and grow
Really, I'm growing more than she is, but that's fine. But at the heart of it, simply put, we're just very different, right?
Yes.
Like we sell very different products, we have very different clients, and once again, very different needs in terms of resources and technology. All right.
Okay. So the GRM US centralized KM team was really established back in 2016. And this is really when our knowledge management journey began across our sales, service, and claims groups. So today, we can have anywhere between about 16,000 to 20,000 users per month accessing the knowledge base, which houses about 18,000 pieces of content. This content is made up of resources that are needed during a customer interaction. These interactions can really range from selling a policy to servicing a policy to processing a claim. And because of that, right, that wide variety, it truly isn't one size fits all. There are different needs across sales, service, and claims. And with GRM US being so massive, it's extremely important that we continue to focus on targeting the right content to the right user at the right time, and really ensuring that our users can interact, access, and consume knowledge during those customer interactions. For the knowledge management team, we really need to enable, right, those successful customer interactions. And because of that, we implemented best-in-class knowledge principles and foundational industry standards that have really elevated our KM program.
Awesome. So we've learned a lot from them in this short time period. And as you can see here in GRS, we are a very new organization, right? So we have had a big year in 2022. We started, right, like we started our KM program in GRS, so that was big. We hired an entire team. We hired a new vendor. And now we've started sort of the monumental task of figuring out where the heck all of our information is. I'm sure I see some heads nodding, like, yeah, we get that. We've been there, Jenny. But it's a lot. And so we actually started with just 1,200 pieces of content, right? So it seems kind of weird, right? You're a pretty big organization and you only migrated 1,200 articles, but sort of the tip of the iceberg and where we decided to start because of the system that we were in previously. And I'll tell you a little bit about that more in a few minutes, but at the end of the day, you can see here we have a long way to go. We're estimating about another 8,000 just for our underwriters alone. A little bit different with GRS as well, so we do not have call center agents, at least not in the underwriting group. While some of their tasks, yes, they are repeatable, they are very skilled technicians, right? And the amount of research that they have to do to get quotes out to these large corporations is pretty expansive. So we needed for us, our knowledge management platform, to house like really detailed resource guides to aid in that sort of asynchronous learning process, if you will. So we've actually sort of branded our knowledge management platform, we call it Knowledge Center, but as really sort of a Wikipedia for our underwriters, which is a huge improvement over what they've been using in the past. And of course, like Katie, at the end of the day, we too, obviously strive to be the best in terms of providing that sort of one source of truth to our employees in GRS. So now we are actually slated to launch at the end of next month. So Butch, I think we have a lot to learn from you. It looks like you've been on this journey for quite some time with eGain. And ironically, I feel like, at least from TRS's perspective, we're sort of reverse in some of the features that we're taking on. We're really starting out with that knowledge hub, and you've got a lot of stuff that I could probably learn from, so let's connect later. But really at the end of the day, this has been a great opportunity for us, for Katie's and mine organization, to learn from one another, right? So they're using features that we're not using yet. We're going to use features that they're not using. And so it really allows us the opportunity to collaborate, right? And also save time and money and resources as we sort of divide and conquer some of those features. Yeah. All right, Katie, this is you.
Yeah. So as we stop and really reflect on our journey that we started right back in 2016, we really feel like there's 5 key areas that has gotten us to where we are today and is going to really set us up for success in the future. So the first stop on that journey are KPIs, RFP, and requirements. If you want knowledge management to be a strategic lever for your organization that really drives business value and results, you need to spend time defining those key requirements and measures of success for the groups you serve. And when you're approaching this work, really don't start from a place of wanting to create a top knowledge base with all the bells and whistles, with the best functionality. Really starting from a place to wanting to solve your users' problems, because it's those problems, as we all know, that really impact your customer interactions, which then can impact your business metrics. For instance, you may be looking at how to improve process adherence, lower average handle time, or reduce callbacks. And it's important to understand what factors are currently impacting those KPIs, because it's really that information that should inform those key requirements. We believe to be successful in this, it's crucial to have a cross-functional RFP process that encompasses groups such as legal, procurement, IT, KM, analytics, and many more. It's this work that will lay the foundation and really impact all other areas of your journey. So with that, we'll go to the second stop on the journey, which is user-centric design. So after you've identified those business problems, you need to start to determine the needs of the users and how you can leverage the system to meet those needs. Our goal within GRM US KM is to ensure our users feel satisfied and supported while using the knowledge platform. One of the many ways we do this is by partnering with our UX teams to understand best practices and assess the user experience as we are designing those platform and content solutions. We'll move on to stop 3, which is build, test, and learn. So you have what you need, right? At this point, you have what you need to start building those requirements with utilizing those human-centric designs and approaches. This is where we really embodied a build, test, and learn model where we built bite-sized solutions, allowed users to interact with it, give us feedback, and make the adjustments needed. So I just want to use an example here that many of you may be familiar with, and it's the skateboard to car MVP example. So a customer ordered a car, but instead of building a car, or instead of the company building the car, they focused on the underlying need of the customer. Turns out that underlying need is I need to get from A to B faster. And a car is just one of those possible solutions out of many, right? With a skateboard being the first iteration, it allowed them to learn and still aim to build the car while obtaining feedback. So I love this example because what we've really tried to challenge ourselves is thinking about what's the cheapest and fastest way we can start learning from our users. And the fourth stop is optimization and refinement. So as you're building and testing and learning and really implementing these solutions, there's a level of optimization and refinement that should be executed here. If you're truly harnessing that start somewhere mindset within your building and testing, then you know it's not going to be perfect to start. And optimization and refinement really allows you to continue to iterate and build upon your content and platform solutions. This also enables prioritization refinement based on value. So KPIs come back into play, right? KPIs should continue to play an important role throughout the process, as it should inform where you are spending your time and resources and what solutions are going to drive the most value for your organization. The last stop, but definitely not the least important stop, is continuous evolution. So right when you feel like you finally got your knowledge base in a place that you want it to be, there's always new technology, new ways our users are interacting with content, new ways they're consuming content, new business priorities, and the list could go on and on. This is all part of the why behind continuous evolution. Because our users' needs are continuing to evolve, such as, again, how they consume and interact with content, how they locate content, their metrics, their goals. Our KM teams should be forever evolving to meet those needs and continuing to revisit those KPIs to focus on delivering business value. So I think about some of the presentations earlier today, right? We need to continue putting our user groups that we serve, who are truly our customers, at the core of what we do. And this will continue to elevate not only your knowledge management program, but also the business as a whole.
Yeah. Awesome. I love the skateboard to car analogy because, like, as I've said several times now, we're pretty green on our side of the house in terms of knowledge management anyway, so I picture us as like, you know, the old wooden skateboard with no cool like designs or stickers on it. It's pretty basic, but we're getting there, right? So for up until this year really, and still really today to a large degree, probably like many of you started out, our knowledge management has really lived in the various business organizations, right? So I'm sure it's no surprise to any of you that when you have that type of model, information gets stale really fast, and it's really hard to find it in that type of operating model. So for us in GRS, so they've been around a while, we're new to this. We tried multiple times this knowledge management journey in sort of a project team approach. As I'm sure you can all imagine, that was kind of a miserable fail, but we did learn a few things along the way, right? So we've started and stopped a few times. We had a vendor that we had originally signed with that did not go the way we had wanted it to, right? I think we ended up pulling the plug fairly early on. It was very much an oversell or overpromise, undersell type situation, right? So there were several things that went wrong. Number one, they were not flexible at all. I think Butch talked about the flexibility of eGain. That has been great. They have been very flexible. Same thing with the customization, right? Like the customization was not there. We were really not able to make the product our own whatsoever, and so that really kind of left a bad taste in our mouth too. And then for us, right, we decided we needed to take a step back and really think not only our vendor approach, but also our organizational approach. So with that, you know, my management team put forth the case to have a new knowledge management department. So we were born in GRS. And really, it's been great because we've leaned into our GRM partners to really help us get our feet under us, both in terms of process, governance. You know, Katie talked about KPIs and all that good stuff. But, you know, while we've leaned in on them for so many things, we've also figured out pretty quickly that there are definitely things that we have to do differently, right? We have to pivot based on how our users consume their knowledge. So, you know, just a couple of examples, right? So we talk about, and I think a lot of this will resonate with you guys, that short, concise articles are really the way to go, right? Like, that's just much more consumable for your average user. We don't really have that luxury in GRS underwriting. Again, I talked earlier about how these are very detailed documents these underwriters have to utilize. So we did do a lot of work with eGain to really customize our UI template to sort of help those longer articles look more visually appealing. So that's been a huge benefit for us as well. Although I will say, as a side note, still some work we can definitely do in that department of kind of tackling and tearing apart some of these articles and making them a little bit more concise for the consumers. The other thing that we're excited about, and I don't remember who talked about this earlier, but maybe it was you still, is right, like we still have, you're gonna be my go-to, Butch, sorry. We still have, I talked earlier, we still have a lot of information in a lot of different places. SharePoint, shared drives, OneNote, God help us on desktops, right? So one of the features that we're building out with eGain today is a SharePoint federated search, right? So as I mentioned, we've started sort of tip of the iceberg, 1,200 articles, doesn't sound like a lot, but we're working up to that. We anticipate many, many thousands of documents as we sort of, you know, continue this journey with eGain. So until then, we thought it would be a great opportunity to sort of leverage this federated SharePoint feature to help sort of bring a lot of that information that we have not migrated into sort of that one source, that one place for folks to go. Because as I think Rick said earlier, you want the right resources, not more resources. And so we've done a lot of studies where our underwriters have showed us how many times they have to click just to get to find something in SharePoint, right? It's kind of a nightmare. So those are some of the features that we're using that not necessarily are in scope for Katie's organization. And let's talk about what we're excited about, right? So for me, like, we're pretty easy to please in GRS, right? We went from a platform that was, really and truly in the insurance industry, we use a lot of forms, rates, and rules. So we had a platform that did a pretty good job of giving that information to us, and then sort of over the years, it morphed into sort of a knowledge management platform. Newsflash, it was not meant to be a knowledge management platform, and so fast forward like 10, 20 years later, and it's just become this like dumping ground repository of information. Seriously, there's documents from like 1999 in there. So we're really excited just to have this great modern interface that our underwriters and our other employees in GRS have not been used to seeing. And we were able to really customize it to take on the look of our sort of My Liberty intranet homepage so that it really had that sort of cohesive feel and it sort of felt like they were in one system. So we're excited about that. If I have to pinpoint a couple of key things so I'm excited about a lot because we don't have anything. So maybe you're excited about different things, Katie, I don't know. But one of the things that I'm really excited about are the analytics capabilities, right? So when your information is all spread out like ours is in GRS, it's really hard to get good information behind that data so that we can really help make sure that we're providing the best information to our end users. And so I'm super excited to be able to really pull that data and use it to really refine and help sort of guide our knowledge specialists, right, into the data that we need. The other thing that I'm really excited about too is the API integration. So, big organization like many of you out there, we've acquired a lot of companies. We're in a lot of systems, unfortunately. We do our best to consolidate that, but it's not always a quick fix. So where we can do API integration, we're really excited about that. And I met with someone at breakfast earlier that talked about integration into Salesforce, so come find me later because I'd really love to talk to you about that. Anyway, so Katie, anything that you and GRM are excited about?
Yeah, I would echo the API integrations. You heard it in a lot of other presentations too, right? Creating that one-stop shop for your, contact center users. So really excited for that integration, as well as just continuing to build upon all the work and all the learnings and all the feedback, and continuing to keep our users at the core of what we do, and trying to meet their needs. So. Yeah.
The other thing too, that we've heard a little bit about is the personalization piece. So I very much like the motto of work smarter, not harder. So the fact that we can have one article and customize it for different portals or different end users, that's really exciting to me as well. So very happy to sort of continue that journey. A lot of things on the horizon for us, I think, both in GRM and GRS.
Yeah.
So, all right. So look, we're like 6 minutes early. I know you're hungry, so you're welcome. Thanks so much for having us. I really look forward to connecting with a lot of you offline and in the hall and in the studio. So really want to hear about how you're solving the needs of your business stakeholders too. So thank you very much.
Thank you.